Radio Live Sport.
New Zealand's on the brink of defeat in their Davis Cup tennis final against India in Christchurch. Marcus Daniel lost his singles match earlier, and Michael Venus is trailing 2-0 in the deciding match. Shaun Johnson's 100th NRL game was one to forget after a 24-0 thrashing by the Roosters in Sydney. The Warriors conceded 4 tries and were a shadow of the team who'd won 7 of their last 9 matches. Johnson's looking to move on quickly from a substandard display on Sky Sport.
The good thing about footy is you get to get out there next week and try, right the wrong. So look forward to get home and prepare well for next week.
The defeat drops the Warriors from 4th to 7th place on the NRL ladder. All Black swinger Corey James realistic about his chances of making the cut for the Rugby World Cup. He hurt his ankle in the Barbarians' win over the Māori at Eden Park last night.
A little bit sore yesterday, so I'll get the scan done and find out how serious it is, and then work my butt off to impress them.
It's wretched luck for Jane, who's only just returned from an injury that ruled him out of the Super Rugby playoffs. It's 7:03.
Radio Live weather.
With Mammoth Modern Insulation. Be warm and lower your energy bills. 0800 Mammoth.
From Northland to Waitomo, including the Coromandel, Bay of Plenty and Taupo. Fine apart from a few showers in Northland, isolated rain in the west tomorrow. Taranaki to Wellington, including Taihape. Fine for the rest of today, but showers spreading north tomorrow afternoon before clearing. Gisborne to Wairarapa. Isolated showers, southwest gales about exposed coastal areas, showers spreading north tomorrow. Nelson and Marlborough, fine apart from some showers tomorrow afternoon. Canterbury, mainly fine, showers about Banks Peninsula spreading inland for a time late tomorrow morning with southwest gales. For Bulla and Westland, showers spreading north in the morning, they'll clear by the evening. Fiordland, Southland and Otago, showers turning to rain tomorrow with snow above 400 metres. Over the Chatham Islands, showers with southwest gales, severe for a time in the morning. It's 7:05. I'm Karen McCarthy, and you're on Radio Live.
It's Sunday Social, an hour dedicated to social media with Vaughan Davis.
And welcome to a weather bomby sort of weekend on Sunday Social. Hope your roof is where you saw it last. Perfect night to draw the curtains, turn up the heater, fill that mug with cocoa or old school Milo if you can find some of that, and snuggle close to another corker episode of New Zealand's favourite radio show about apps and social media. I'd love you to be part of a show because Radio Live is all about your news and your views. So text 3920 keyword live to be in on the action. If you use Periscope, you smart up-to-the-minute thing, you can follow me right there, right now. We're streaming from the studio. Tweet me at Vaughan Davis or, of course, on YouTube, youtube.com/Vaughan Davis TV. And it's all happening there tonight. Facebook Messenger introduces a new way to say what you're really feeling. That's kind of cool. We take an actual look at this Facebook for Prisoners things that had tongues wagging all this week. And Simone McCallum, who has just walked into the studio all scarfed up, serves up her apps and websites of the week, including yet another one guaranteed to get me off my bum and go outside for a run, thereby exposing the skinny guy that is somewhere underneath all those KFC double downs. First, though.
As soon as I wake up, every night, every day, I know that it's you I need to take the blues away. It must be love, love.
Love. Oh, love. Love, either in the traditional sense or more loosely and viscerally defined, is all over the internet. At one end of the spectrum are respectable dating sites like New Zealand's own Find Someone, and we've had them on the show, and US-based Match.com, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Mainstream social media has its part to play too, and I can see a day not too far from the present where it will be much more usual for people to have met their one true love on Facebook or Twitter than at some place they just happen to work or go to school. Then there are the more, shall we say, down and dirty end with apps like Tinder, Grindr, and goodness knows what else, just there for those in need of what the young people would call a hookup. On the face of it, you'd think the last thing the internet needs is yet another dating site. But Aucklander Alice Harborne, who I haven't even thought to ask whether or not you're single or not, Alice, she thought it did. It's called dogooddating.co.nz, and you co-founded it, and you've taken time from your busy, no doubt, social life to join me tonight. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What led you to set this up? Because as I sort of said in the preamble, there's no shortage of ways to meet people online, really, is there?
To be honest, we came at the angle not of dating app first, but real people as the kind of people that we wanted to connect, and the internet was a way to do that rather than with the aim of creating a dating app. A while ago, I am actually taken, but a while ago in 2010, I worked for a website called gatheranhunt.co.nz, where we launched a kind of tongue-in-cheek matchmaking service for kind of hipsters to go to cafes and meet each other. And the demand was through the roof. It was crazy how many people came to us and said it was so hard to meet new people in Auckland.
Are hipsters even into dating? Because I thought, like, they're on to the next thing.
Do you know
whatever comes after dating, right? Because dating is so old-fashioned.
Well, I think the way that we sort of bribed them into doing it is with the fact that we got some cool cafes on board. So where there was kind of like good cold brew coffee, the hipsters came. So that was quite good.
Cold brew coffee. If anyone outside about a 500-metre radius of the Radio Live studio on Ponsonby Road is listening to this, you must be rolling.
Anyway, through the popularity of that and my own experiments, I spent 6 months going on 20 dates, which was really interesting in Auckland, having never dated before, being from another place, to throwing myself in the deep end. But it's really hard to meet people, and with apps like Tinder, it's kind of easy to question people's motives. So I
was thinking about that on apps like Tinder, which I haven't used. It's actually not hard to understand people's motives. They're very straightforward and they're very transparent. They want sex. It's not questionable.
I don't think that actually is why a lot of people join it. You hear of a lot of success stories of people who did meet legitimately on Tinder, who just wanted companionship. And I think it's just the fact that there is that question. You could join it with pure intentions, but you don't know if the other person does have the same intentions as you. So Do Good Dating was born, which was meant to be a way to kind of put the phones down and meet in real life first. And instead of the pressure of deciding who you, like with speed dating and stuff, you actually love or really fancy, it's more about who would you like to spend an hour with in the community, doing community work, and go from there. So you get to meet in real life first, then you spend an hour together doing something good in the community, and hopefully from then on we'll have a few marriages. That's the goal.
Marriages. That's a lovely and old-fashioned view. And again, you wonder if your hipsters even value those. I don't know. So let's just step through it. So you have a website, and that's step one. What happens there?
So it's a very basic website, and you just log on, and it asks you for your email address. You sign up, and then you'll get sent an auto reply with a few questions about yourself. So your interests, your sexual orientation, your age, and then a couple of questions that we kind of use to gauge your personality, like if you had a day off tomorrow, how would you spend it? And what were the best things that you listened to recently? And from there, that's created this automatic database of people. And we've now got over 2,800 people on that database.
2,800 people?
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. And with that sort of size of database, I guess you've personally looked at all those profiles, I'm guessing, because it's small enough that you can look at it.
Yeah.
What kind of things do people say that they'd like to do in the day off? And I saw one of the other questions was, what's your favourite movie? What patterns are emerging? What's predominating?
A lot of Jurassic World or whatever the latest film is.
God, it's David Ferrier's on your side, isn't he? Clearly.
Yeah. Well,
he is. Admit it. He is. You nodded. There you go, David Ferrier.
But
and
do you
1,199
know what is actually
others.
kind of funny is that you do just get a lot of the same answers. A lot of people in their day off would like to have a lie in, go to the beach for a walk, and have some good food or a barbecue if it's nice weather. So it has been an interesting
That's what we all say, isn't it?
experiment.
But we never do. We just spend the time answering work emails.
And so it's quite fun when you get people that are honest about that and say that if they had another day, they'd probably find ways to fill it with work.
Yep.
But yeah, we kind of more or less, we don't try to like judge people on those answers. It's more about if we see common themes, we think, okay, this group of people are going to work really well together at an event, so we'll invite them to come along, and then hope that there are a few matches. So our first event was about a month ago at a cafe in the evening, and we had 10 matches out of it with 40 people there. So let's just jump back, because there's kind of three phases to do good dating. There's the website and the questions that lead to the profiles. Then there's the matchmaking event. Then there's this sort of community service, the do good part. That's right.
When you go through this list of 2,000 people answering these questions, which kind of freeform questions, how do you make those calls? How do you decide, well, that looks like a person I'd like to have along? Do you have some algorithm, or is it just you and your co-founders sitting going, yep, nah, yeah, nah?
Not at this stage.
Creep, loser, nah.
We didn't anticipate so many people signing up. Initially, we kind of assumed it would be sort of our age group, our group of kind of people that we probably would know through other people. So it has been interesting trying to develop a way to sort of organize everything with a system. Mostly we're doing it by general age groups and sexual orientation at the moment, and not sort of stressing too much about their interests and stuff, because if they're, you never know, some people might like the same film but they're really not going to get on. So it's kind of a bit of a science matchmaking. Sometimes there's no reason why people might not have anything in common. But
do any of your three co-founders have any background in it, apart from that time you dabbled in it in an ironic sense? Do any of you have a background in matchmaking?
I'm the matchmaker of the three of us, I'd say. The others just know Auckland really well. So there's Dan Drepstein, who's from Live More Awesome, and he's very well connected, and he's heard repeatedly how hard it is to meet people on a friendship basis as well as in a relationship. And I guess it's all just from that sort of kind of real life experience of it, rather than necessarily professional matchmaking.
Rather than having a student loan funded degree in matchmaking, which probably exists. It probably does exist. So stage one is people fill in this form on the website, and you guys go through and go, we'll invite this 50 or so to a cafe. I think I read that you held your first one in a cafe very close to where I live called Supreme, which my heart was broken the other day to see that it's just closed. It's gone.
Yeah, it was one of the last events that Good One hosted. So we felt very privileged to use that space. It's a beautiful place, and because it was called Good One, it made sense.
It's probably going to be some beautiful apartments now. So stage two is you get 40, 50 people in a room, and was it literally speed dating like you see on the sitcoms? The bell rings after a minute, you go to the next table, and
we actually had a hooter. Yeah,
you had a hooter.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. But yes, it's 5 minutes with a conversation with a stranger, then they move along to the next person, and there's kind of nice food and drink going around as well. And we try and take off the pressure by introducing ourselves at the start and kind of making a bit of a fool of ourselves and saying it's we've done it before and it's not anything to be scared about, and you're not signing your life away just if you get on.
And people pay. This is the point at which people pay, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So to kind of cover the costs of running the event, we charge $15. But with the scale of people that have applied, we've actually got some different events coming up as well, which aren't necessarily that format of speed dating. So our next event is a large group event with 100 people where they're actually doing volunteer work on an
straight
island
off the bat.
Auckland. Yeah,
because I was reading on your Facebook page. So if you just search "Do Good Dating" on Facebook, I guess you'll get to it. There's a bit of resentment that 2,000 people have signed up and only 40 people got invited to your special cold filter coffee night.
Yeah, well, we had organised that first event before we launched
you knew what
anything.
demand
So
would be.
we kind of took that we took that in mind with our next event, which will cater to 100 people. It's still not massive, but that kind of defeats the purpose. If we do giant events where you're not likely to meet someone that you have something in common with, then it kind of ruins the magic of a curated dating service.
Absolutely. After the break, I want to talk a little bit about the whole do good side of it, because we haven't even got to that yet. So far, it sounds like a dating service. With me from dogooddating.co.nz, Alice Harborn. I'm Vaughan Davis. You're listening to Radio Live Sunday Social. Back soon.
Don't let rush hour traffic hit your nightly 3 News fix. Switch on to Radio Live's 3 News simulcast each night at 6 p.m. The 3 News simulcast, proudly brought to you by Professionals, your professionals in real estate, on Radio Live. It's Sunday Social, an hour dedicated to social media with Vaughan Davis.
And welcome back to Sunday Social. Hey, just looking at the Twitter, the couple of things going on. Something strange has happened on Dancing with the Stars, and no one will tell me what it is. Maybe you can text me at Vaughan Davis and tell me what that was. And the other thing is, poke your head out the window. Don't leave the radio. Poke your head out the window. Have a look at the moon, Venus, and Jupiter. My God, absolutely beautiful. Hey, back to tonight's interview from a service called dogooddating.co.nz. Alice Harborn. Alice, welcome back.
Hello.
Before the break, we talked about the first 2 phases of Do Good Dating, which are sort of fairly conventional. You go to the website, put in your name and email address, and answer some basic questions about yourself. The second part, you go to a speed dating event, and we'll talk a bit more about the future of those later. But then the next phase is where the name comes in, the Do Good Dating. Tell us about that.
That's right. So that's where Dan Drepstein from Live More Awesome came into the equation. I've known Dan for a while, and he's behind the world's biggest water slide and has lots of connections and things that just do good in the community. Initially, when we kind of were thinking on a small scale, the dates were going to be very small scale too. So we were hoping that people on the Facebook page of Live More Autumn would suggest activities that would help their neighbours. For instance, they might have an elderly relative they live far away from who would love someone to come and help with their garden for a couple of hours. As the scale grew, we've gotten, and as sort of we launched really fast and had lots of popularity quite quickly, we've had a lot of actual charities come to us and say, hey, we could use a large group of people. So we're working with a few charities. The first group, the people that had matches on the first event, are currently doing their dates with Sustainable Coastlines. So they're going up to West Coast beaches and doing beach clear ups. We're also working with Timbre Productions, which is a children's charity. And they do.
Is picking up, I mean, have you been along on one of these? I mean, the idea of walking along a beach with someone for a date sounds pretty romantic. The idea of picking up rubbish while you're doing it sounds less so.
I guess it gives
Or is that just my jaundiced lens that I'm looking through?
People know what they're signing up for when they hear about the concept. They know that there's a possibility that they could be doing something that glamorous on a date. It gives you something to talk about. It's way better than kind of sitting across each other at a bar, knowing that the only reason that you're there is to meet each other. Whereas with this, you've got an actual purpose and the bonus that you might have good conversation and like someone at the same time. Some of the others put people a bit out their comfort zone, which I think can be good, but we kind of work out personalities for if they'll be good for those dates. For instance, with this children's theatre company, the recent show is a kids theatre show about grannies and granddads. So they'll be raising money for it dressed as a granny and granddad in Takapuna, which is a bit out there for some people, but again, it forces them into a different situation, gives them something to instantly bond over that's a bit unusual. And then for future dates, we're in conversation with a few of the bigger charities like Oxfam and Red Cross at the moment, trying to work out how we can sustainably do something ongoing that's actually practically useful for the charity, not just lip service to kind of, doing some good. It's actually sort of making a difference. And
you've been going since only a month or two, right?
That's right, yeah.
And how many dates have you actually set up?
So what happens is once you have a match, we tell the person that you've got a match, and we exchange their email addresses and then give them the contact at the charity. So it's up to them to go and organise going on the date. So from that point of view, we're kind of quite hands off. It's just between the charity liaison and the two people. But usually in that situation, they say, okay, right, it's great. I don't want to look bad in front of the other person that likes me. So let's go and do it, which is quite good. So far we've had about, I think out of the 10, 8 have gone on and done their actual charity works. But for the next event, which is on the 2nd of August, we've got 100 people actually going and doing charity work while they date. So that'll be a kind of
right.
Big one.
So you're skipping that initial speed dating thing and going straight from the database to the next step down the line.
Yeah, but it is still quite curated in the sense that it's 100 people, but we're splitting up into groups based on age and sexual preference. And then on the day, you'll be split off doing different activities on the island. And we'll try and we'll have a tongue-in-cheek way that you can match with the person at the end as well. We're considering doing some kind of take on Bachelor card with cards of a rose or something, and at the end of the day you exchange cards. But it's doing something that is a bit funny and lighthearted and not too serious. Because
you've got because when you're a hipster, you've got to do everything in an ironic sense.
Oh, absolutely.
That's kind of a rule. You talked about sexual preference, and one of the interviews I've read with you elsewhere said that one of your drivers for this was providing a venue or a platform for people sort of right across the spectrum to meet people that they might find interesting. How do you manage that? Because there's so many permutations and preferences, and as of Friday we're having an official sort of none of the above gender in this country, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, very cool.
How do you work that?
It is a really difficult one, and it's one that I feel uncomfortable even having a box there that says what's your gender, what's your sexual preference. It's kind of like a kind of social structure that we've all fallen into that becomes, from a practical point of view, easier to categorize and hopefully find someone that you might meet. But where it gets a bit more complicated is if you're not really sure what your sexual preference is, or you don't really know if you want one or the other. So we kind of try and make it with some of these events where they're a bit more general and there's lots of people in one place, so you've got a chance to meet other people rather than having to tick a box.
There'll be someone that ticks your boxes.
But it's something that I'm personally very passionate about, is servicing a community that has typically been underserved, I think, by sort of mainstream speed dating type events in Auckland. And where they have happened, they're not publicised that very well, and they're just not given the kind of the same sort of marketing vibe, like branding, everything like that comes along with mainstream dating services.
It sounds to me, I'm getting the feeling you're quite a fan of the speed dating setup, the whole format, the way it works, the
I think once
buzz of
I think
it.
the idea of it sounds quite naff, but once you do it, it's actually a really great way to meet people. When else are you going to force yourself to meet 40 people in a night? And the structure is actually quite useful. People might think, kind of roll their eyes and think, "Oh God, that sounds awful, like a nightmare. What if they don't like me?" But
I'm just
5
rolling my
minutes.
eyes at the cold filtered coffee. I haven't got past that yet.
Well, you don't have to drink that if you came to an
I'm not
event. Don't
going
worry.
to. No.
But yeah, I think I actually think it's become associated with something that's uncool, but actually there's nothing uncool about the concept. Even if it's just meeting friends and you're doing
It's gone right around the other side, and it's cool again. One thing that's definitely not cool is people who are attracted to these platforms, these events, these communities with, I guess, less than pure or even, I guess, predatory motives. How do you keep your participants safe?
I think when we first started talking about Do Good Dating, we were going to kind of treat it like Tinder in the sense that people would match before they met in real life, and then we'd send them on a date. But that was one of my main concerns, which is why we introduced this speed dating thing initially. I mean, hopefully the fact that it's doing good in the community acts as a filter from the word go. If you want to do good in the community, we're hoping that you've got purer motivations than maybe on Tinder or something like that.
Yep.
And then, yeah, you get to meet someone, although it's only for 5 minutes, you're surrounded with other people. It's kind of a safe environment. You can kind of get a good read on people, hopefully, in that time. And then I guess going forward, it kind of comes down to sort of like human judgment that you have in every interaction that you have in your life. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to sort of put too much of a blanket at that stage.
Now, at the risk of this sounding like a date, tell us about yourself. So we know you're spoken for, and we know your Twitter address, if you want to follow Alice, is Alice_Harborn with a U. What do you do what's your day job? It's also kind of in the internet-y digital space,
It
right?
is, yeah. I'm actually currently the online editor at Dish Magazine. So
currently, that's a loaded word. Currently,
Well,
are you leaving?
I am actually just about to undertake a new role at Metro Magazine.
Oh, how exciting!
Same thing. Yes. So I came to New Zealand to study for a year, and when I graduated, got offered a job with Gather and Hunt, which is an Auckland blog, and did that for a year and really loved it.
People get offered jobs at blogs. Who knew?
It was a startup, so it was a lot of hard work for not much money at the beginning, but we kind of turned it into something that was now really cool and still going really well.
Oh, Nick Sampson. Nick Sampson tweets in and says, "Cold brew coffee is yum as." Says Nick Sampson.
Well, there we go.
Well, I would go and try some, Nick, but Good One Cafe has just closed down and is turning into an apartment block. So it's off the menu. Tell me about your online life. So if you're looking to platforms or creating platforms like Do Good Dating for people to meet each other, are you a big social media user yourself? Because I mean, this seems to be where people meet each other these days.
Do you think people actually meet
Absolutely.
in social media?
Yeah, totally.
I guess through things like Twitter and stuff like that, that's probably more of a way to meet people. But for me, I actually often find that Facebook nowadays is kind of for parents and my aunties to kind of share photos and talk to each other, and you talk to people that you know rather than you don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean the two things are quite they do behave quite differently. I think Facebook is for people you know or knew, generally speaking, and Twitter for me anyway is people who you don't know yet.
Yeah, exactly. So I am quite active on social media. I find Twitter more useful as a platform, I guess, for industry type things. So for food, for instance, it's kind of how I find out about things that I'm going to write about.
And as an online editor, where do you go for your inspiration and your online news? Apart from you're not going to see Metro because you're about to go there. But what are your go-to websites for that? When you wake up in the morning, what do you download?
I guess I'm a big fan of reading international websites. So my go-to every single morning is obviously The Guardian. I really love that. In fact, they have a really cool dating column that I'm addicted to reading, where they send people on blind dates. Other than that, for me, it's all about kind of smaller Auckland bloggers. So Heartbreak Pie, just Delaney Mez's blog, and Eat Here Now, I'm really big fans of. And of course, Gather and Hunt, Concrete Playground, kind of guide to Auckland.
You should tweet all those to me later, and I will retweet them to everyone who is listening. Hey, well, tell me about, just before we go, dogooddating.co.nz. Clearly, it's exploded. It's grown far more quickly than you thought it would. What do you see as the future for that in the next 6 months to a year?
Well, we're currently deciding. We've got kind of 3 routes that we're sort of weighing up the pros and cons about going down, which is to do with either automating the service, turning into something more like an app. But we've had a lot of demand from people overseas, even as far as we've had Hong Kong and Australia and people in Wellington, all over the country are kind of wanting a bit of piece of the action. So I guess trying to come up with a model that is really, really, really succinct and works, that we can.
There's only 23 people in Wellington. They know each other anyway. They don't need a website.
I do. Oh, I don't know.
I do. Hey, Alice Harborne from dogooddating.co.nz. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on Sunday Social.
Thanks for having me.
You can catch the whole interview, at radiolive.co.nz under shows and Sunday Social, or go straight to dogooddating.co.nz to find out more about that and get yourself on that list of 2,500 people. After the break, Simone McCallum from ASB joins me for the week's latest apps, websites, and social media news, including what we think right now is the coolest app if you happen to be a runner. Back soon.
Are you an innovator? Is your organisation showing the world what Kiwis can do? Then it's time to enter the New Zealand Innovators Awards and celebrate ordinary people doing extraordinary things. This is your chance to tell your story, to be recognised on a national stage, and to showcase your innovative products, services and business to the world. Enter now or nominate someone at innovators.org.nz. The New Zealand Innovators Awards, proudly supported by Radio Live. It's Sunday Social. Everything you need to know about social media with Vaughan Davis.
And welcome back to Sunday Social. Joining me now in the studio, my regular panelist, Simone McKellen from ASB, and of course, SimoneMcKellen.com, who our last guest forgot to mention in that list of blogs she regularly reads. She probably ran out of time.
Oh, maybe she couldn't spell it.
Maybe she couldn't. So should we spell it out? SimoneMcKellen.com. How are you? How's your weekend been?
Good, thanks. Yeah, all good. What's that on your hand?
Which hand, Simone?
I know.
Which hand? The hand with the hand with the
well
Fitbit?
adorned with gadgets. Guy gone mad.
I'm laden with gadgets, and it's interesting. The new battleground, the new tech battleground. I'm naming it today. It's called Share of Wrist, because you've only got two wrists and everyone wants to be on them. So on my left wrist, and if you're watching us on YouTube, youtube.com/Vaughan Davis TV, or on Periscope, and you can find that via my Twitter feed at Vaughan Davis, you will see I'm waving around an Apple Watch. I was going to say I swore I'd never get one, but I never quite swore. I didn't think I'd get one. So
not yet currently available in New Zealand?
No, that's the thing. I've been visiting Sydney a little bit for work recently, and going into the Apple store there. And they've had them on display for about, it feels like 3 months. And the first time I saw them, I went, "Oh, wow, I can buy one." So I went in and said, "Oh, these for sale?" "Absolutely, sir." "Great, I'll have that one." "Oh, well, you've got to go to our website and you've got to order it, and it won't arrive till July." I went, "What? In what way does that mean it's actually for sale?"
That's how they sold them all around the world.
I know. The sort of the bait and switch. So finally, I went in, I forked over my money, and I got one. I got pretty much the cheapest one you can get.
Why didn't you get the one with the cool band? There's a name for the band.
Because I saw a mutual friend of ours who used to work at Facebook has the fancy one, but he's got much more money than I have.
No, but is it really that much more expensive? The one with the fancy band?
Yeah, several $100s more.
Really?
So let's just go through the range. They have three ranges. I can't remember the top one. I got the Sport, which is
the top one is the gold one.
Yeah, the top one's the gold one, which is a fancy name. It's like $12,000. Forget about that. I got the Sport, which is just their name for the cheap one because it has a plastic band on it. That costs about $500. And then you go into the Watch, because they're all watches, the Watch, which I think is about $200 more, depending on the band. But the Sport is what I ended up with. And the choices, there's two choices. You can either buy a 38mm screen or a 42mm screen. I can see you're fascinated by the fact your eyes are closing.
Eyes are glazing.
You're falling asleep. But I've
still quite an expensive watch.
It is quite because my
for a plastic watch.
Yeah, my previous watch was no watch at all.
Just saying.
I know, plastic band. What do I like it? Do I like it or not? I've had it for 2 weeks. I quite like the fact that when stuff happens on my phone, because let's be clear, it's a very
It's complimentary, isn't it?
It's complimentary.
It's an accessory for your phone.
Yeah, it's an accessory for your phone. So you've got to have an iPhone. You've got to have an iPhone 5 or above, I think. And it very much depends on the phone. So it alerts me to stuff that's happening on my phone. So if my phone's, in my bag or in my pocket or whatever, and a call comes, I can see who's calling on my watch, and more about what I might do with that in a minute. If I have a text message, I can receive it on my watch and respond on my watch, which is pretty cool. And yeah, it is. It makes it.
How does typing out the?
Well, you don't need to. So most text messages, your response is either yes, no, maybe, see you later, or whatever. So they have a bunch of pre-populated answers, which are kind of cool.
What if your answer is not one of those pre-populated ones?
Well, it pre-populates answers based on the text message you just got sent. So if you were to text me and say, "Hey, do you want chicken or fish for dinner?" I can't think of any circumstance under which you might text me that. But if you were, up on my phone, one of the pre-populated answers would be chicken, and the other one would be fish. So I just tap it and it goes away.
Well, that's what Apple's had since iOS 8
in
the existing text messages. But I just hasten to say I've never used any of those automatic answers ever. But just saying.
Okay.
Yep.
The other thing I can do is if I can't find an answer there and I don't want to tappity, I can speak into my watch, and that works quite cool. Problem is, you look like a dick.
Yeah, and everybody else can.
Hear the so if I get a phone call and answer it on my watch, there's two problems. Firstly, everyone hears it because it's a little speakerphone, very clear. The text fantastic. Call me sometime, very clear. But yeah, there is no cool way to actually hold your. If you look on YouTube, there's no clear way to hold your wrist to your mouth to make a call without either looking like one of John Key's henchmen or just a goose.
The novelty of that will wear off quite quickly. Mark my words.
And
so I noticed that you're not so much in love with it that you've been able to give up your other device, the Prism bracelets.
No, that's the thing. That's the thing. So the Apple Watch, it doesn't do everything, and nothing does everything. So I'm still wearing my Fitbit, and the Fitbit is primarily a motion tracker, but it measures my motion, my stair climbs, my heart rate, and it also talks to my bathroom scales. So in terms of health, fitness, weight, and all that sort of stuff, the Fitbit is still fantastic.
But the Apple Watch does all that, doesn't it? Apart from speaking to your scales.
Yeah, it does that to an extent. But if I want to go for a run, let's say, the Apple Watch requires me to take my phone along. So I don't know, my head's in a spin. And then if I really want good GPS and good display while I'm running, I've got a perfectly good Nike watch anyway. I just can't keep up.
Yeah.
I just can't keep up. Ask me again. Ask me again in another week. What should we talk about now?
Oh, should I ask you that in another week?
Ask me that now. Ask me that now.
Oh, what should we talk about now?
Well, how about World Emoji Day? Does that interest you? It interests me.
Did you mark it in some emoji appropriate way?
No, I didn't. It sort of passed me by before. It was like Buy Nothing Day. I normally don't know about that till after I've been to the shops on that day.
What is your favorite emoji?
Well.
Let's start with that.
What is my favorite emoji? I quite like the breaded prawn. I don't know why.
The breaded prawn?
Yeah, the crumbed shrimp. The crumbed shrimp. I quite like the crumbed shrimp emoji, maybe because I haven't had my dinner yet. But emoji, just for if you're listening and you don't know what an emoji is, it's a Japanese word. And what it means is those little pictures that people are using in lieu of words in their text and their Facebook communications. There are hundreds of these little suckers, and they are becoming more and more popular. Anyway, Friday was World Emoji Day, and to celebrate that a little bit belatedly, I've got a list of five things about emojis that you absolutely need to know. Number one is emojis just don't come from nowhere. They come from a worldwide body, which probably sits in a chamber around a big conference table at the top of a mountain, called the Unicode Consortium. Had you heard of that crowd?
Yeah. Oh, well, certainly Unicode, because that's where they came from. Lots of people want new emojis added to the emoji range.
It's very political.
Yes, well, could be. Bacon emoji seems to be very high up there on the list.
But what does bacon look like when it's shrunk down to emoji size? The big news this year is that just last month, the taco was granted emoji status. The second piece of emoji news is that you can buy, and this just blew me away, you can buy a version of Moby Dick written entirely in emoji, and the best thing about that is that it's called Emoji Dick, which I think is kind of funny.
It must be interesting reading. But along that similar kind of vein, Andy Murray, who's the tennis player.
Yes, English guy, right? Or is he Scottish?
One of them. He tweeted recently, his pre-wedding tweet was kind of the things that he did that day, all in emojis. So like got up, put on a suit, had his nails done, had his hair done, laughed, cried, got in the car, went to the chapel, danced a bit, said some prayers, made a movie, got in the car, drove somewhere, had some wine, had something to eat, had some cake, party, dancing, the dancing twins, music, microphone, drinks, etc., and carried on.
And told the entire story without words, with emoji. Number three key piece of news about emoji is that Instagram prohibits use of the eggplant emoji as a search term. I wouldn't even know how to do an emoji search on Instagram.
That's quite new-ish. Recently,
yeah, I'm sure
within living memory, you've been able to search on some hashtags, some emoji hashtags. Yeah,
right. And the reason for that is a little bit surprising, because in some internet subcultures, the eggplant, the humble aubergine, which is a sort of a purple vegetable, means something inappropriate. There you go. Number four, the first smiley face emoticon was actually used in 1862. That really surprised me.
That's a long time ago.
It was used in a newspaper to denote exactly what we would mean today. It was actually the winky one, which was quite nice. It didn't take itself too seriously. And finally, I said I would come back to Match.com, and it is this. People who use emoji, says Match.com, have more sex. It's scientific.
Okay.
Heart that, heart that, heart that. And we're listening to, of course, the Monty Python Spam Song. And the reason I am playing the Spam Song is because Symantec, and they're the antivirus people, right?
Yes,
what
that's
they
right.
do,
Yep.
have announced, and this really surprises me for two reasons. Spam, unsolicited email messages, have just now, as of this month, hit a 12-year low. Does it tally with your experience? Are you surprised?
I seem to still receive a lot of it, but
I
I don't know. I guess a lot of it's being blocked as well. I do rely on my ISP or whoever to block a lot of spam.
Yeah, a 12-year low. It's dropped. It's only dropped a little bit. It dropped 0.6% from May to June, but it's at the lowest rate overall since 2003, which is very, very good news. But here's the bad news: the spam rate overall. This is of all the emails sent in all the world to all the people who use email. The spam rate overall. This is the good news. It has dropped to 49.7%. So it's still half.
Half of all the emails sent are spam.
Half of all emails sent in the entire world are spam.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. So all those computers, all that internet bandwidth, all those routers, all that fiber, all those server farms, we've got twice as many as we need just because of spam.
But maybe email rates are dropping as well because people don't use email as much because it's got other forms of messaging and what have you.
That's true. We are sending each other emoji via Facebook Messenger. Hey, you're listening to Sunday Social. Vaughan Davis here with Simone McCallum. Back right after this.
First at 5 with James Coleman.
Former FIFA Vice President Jack Warner has said in a TV address he's going to reveal all he knows.
It's been a TV address as if it's the President of the United States. Very difficult to say these days with so much development out of the story chain.
And indeed implicating the World Cups in 1998 and 2010, and suddenly those are tainted.
Well, a very sad news has just come in that Lucretia Seal passed away at 12:35 this morning.
Local and world news, interviews, business and finance, international correspondence, essential information. First at 5 with James Coleman from 5 a.m. weekday mornings on Radio Live. It's Sunday Social with Vaughan Davis.
And welcome back to Sunday Social. Vaughan Davis in the studio with me tonight from ASB. Simone McCallum, welcome back.
Hello.
You're not looking at me. You're looking at the Jolly Periscope.
I was just checking out to see whether anyone was commenting on Periscope. Can't see any from the angle I'm sitting at.
You can comment on the Periscope, or you can watch along. Don't forget youtube.com/Vaughan Davis TV. Oh, almost forgot what we're going to talk about. It's the app part of the show where Simone and I have spent all of the time we should have been doing our day jobs, instead looking for the best apps for you to download to your smartphone and or watch. And you've found one that actually might just get us moving a little bit.
Yeah, this is, because I'm in the ASB Auckland Marathon, I've registered for the half marathon distance. And so it's around about that time when people need to kind of get their training underway. And so I've been trying out a few different running apps for tracking my runs and training schedules and all the rest of that. And I've tried Nike, and I've tried more recently the Garmin range. And I'm not really very impressed with either of them. I've kind of had a bit of a dabble in Map My Run, but I haven't used that consistently for a very long period of time, so I can't really rate that one.
And I noticed we had one of our listeners, Di_F_W. She's a big fan of Map My Run as well.
Yeah, she is, and she's just cracked the 2,000 kilometre mark, she says, which is awesome.
Holy moly!
But the one that I'm going to talk about tonight is Strava, which started off as a cycling app in 2006, but more recently has become a cycling and running app, so both different exercise programs.
So that's Strava, STRAVA.
Yep. And it's available on iOS and Android for free, and there is a premium version as well if you want to get extra features to unlock. And so what it does is it does all your normal stuff. So it tracks all your runs. You can use the app itself on your phone to track your run, or it will import data from a whole range of apps, such as Fitbit, some of the Fitbits, maybe not all of them.
The top of the line fancy Fitbit with a GPS, yeah.
Garmin, TomTom, of course, your iPhone and Android apps, Cat Eye for those cyclists amongst us. And so it shows you how you're doing, how many kilometres per week, shows you your routes, all the split times and all that kind of stuff, drills down into some quite nice, nifty little graphs and things. But one of the things that it does do that I really like is got a social feature. So you can follow other people and you can see how they're doing, and you can participate in challenges or together. So you can challenge each other to reach a certain kilometre level in a period of time, in a month, for example, or do the most kilometres. It would also track when you and others run a certain segment, which has been mapped out.
Yeah, well, I remember this was first popular with what are known as the mammals, the middle-aged men in Lycra on their $5,000 bicycles going around in circles. And I remember back a couple of years ago when it got really popular with cyclists, they were endlessly Facebooking and tweeting that, hey, I just got the best time on, Johnson's Hill or whatever it was, which is not necessarily a race they're in. It's just a regularly used segment of road.
That's right.
And that they could sort of virtually, go on a virtual leaderboard and compete against other middle-aged men.
King of the mountain.
We love that stuff, us middle-aged men.
Yes, well, clearly. And so it tells me whether I've run up quickly up College Hill or not, which the answer is quite clearly no. But it'll show me how many others have run up College Hill and what their times have been. So really good motivator in terms of if you're wanting to improve your time and if you've got a bit of a competitive spirit in you. It also shows me as I run the kind of similar routes regularly, it'll show me how I am comparing on that route over time. So
that's cool.
So for my regular Monday lunchtime run, whatever that might be, it'll show me whether I'm improving or not in the average distance of time. And you can sign up to global challenges. So the one that I'm participating in the moment is a Lululemon one, where they're trying to get 3 million, I'm going to say miles because it generally seems to be in that.
That is one thing I noticed. I downloaded it this afternoon and gave it a try, and it had defaulted to miles, so you need to switch that back.
Switch it over.
to proper distance.
3 million miles or kilometres worldwide. So everyone's kind of in there registered for it, and you can get a leaderboard of who's done the most miles and stuff. And I just thought it's cool. And I've only tried it for a little while, but because it hooks in with my Garmin watch, it does it all automatically and it's all just there. And I'm following quite a lot of people who are training for the ASB Auckland Marathon, which is great because now I know how they're going and I can see that they're out there doing their weekly runs. Like, I should do that too. So good motivator to keep you kind of honest.
So if I may make a 1970s Davies' literary reference, the loneliness of the long-distance runner is no more.
That's right.
Look at that. Hey, well, one last question. This is sort of niggling at me because, I followed you and I could see where you'd been.
Yeah, so there are some privacy options there. All of your data is public by default, but if you want to, and of course, if you're sensible, you should do this. You can map out areas of your home and work in other regions that you perhaps don't want people to know the exact location of. And
that's quite cool. It's like a fuzzy region.
Yeah, it kind of creates this blackout area within, is it half of a kilometre or a kilometre around that point, so it won't show that publicly. So your route will just suddenly start somewhere and suddenly stop somewhere.
That is super smart, because by looking at where someone runs, you can pretty quickly conclude where they live or where they work, which is kind of neat. Hey, so the name of the app is Strava. It's free for iPhone and for Android, and well worth a crack if you're a runner, just casually, or if you're indeed training for the ASB Auckland Marathon coming up quite soon in November. Interesting little change at Facebook.
Yeah, this is a great one, actually. And Facebook often gets a lot of feedback from people saying, oh, God, I'm missing out on the important stuff from my friends, and I'm seeing lots of stuff that I don't really care about from other people or from brands or ads. So Facebook, just show me what my friends are doing. And so they've finally said, okay, well, that's fine. We'll let you do that. So it's only available at the moment on your iPhone app, Facebook app. But if you go into it, click on down the bottom, there's a little, on the bottom right-hand side, there's a button called More, and you go into Newsfeed Preferences, and there's an option there, Prioritize who you see first, and then you can select your friends, and you will actually see their posts first in your either on the desktop or in your iPhone app when you're looking at Facebook, which is fantastic.
It is kind of cool, because otherwise, you can go weeks without seeing someone. It's just because for various reasons, the Facebook algorithm, which drives this whole newsfeed thing, has demoted this supposedly close friend of yours, and you're just not seeing them anymore. So it's called See First, right?
It's called See First, and it shows you, when you're looking at it on your newsfeed, it shows with a little blue star to say you're seeing this first.
Cute. Hey, this brings us to the end of another wintry Sunday Social. Thank you so much, Alice Harborn from Do Good Dating, for joining me earlier on. Simone McCallum, always welcome, from ASB, our technical producer, Kyron Black. I'm Vaughan Davis, and the whole show, the whole shebang, is available as a free podcast at iTunes. Download that now. Enjoy your weekend variety
Radio
wireless.
Live
See you
News,
later.
Up to the Minute with Karen McCarthy.
Good evening. It's 8 o'clock. Just 10 days into an 8-month home detention sentence, AC/DC drummer Phil Rudd is behind bars.